Ooh.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
my
to
God.
beat the shot clock.
That is
Jordan
crazy.
Poole, wow.
6 straight wins. The Charlotte Hornets are no longer a rebuilding project. They are a team on the rise, dominating the league in offense, defense, and rebounding. Brandon Miller is emerging as a legitimate star. LaMelo Ball is finding his rhythm.
LaMelo, the rip away, clean air, ball!
And a rookie just shattered a franchise record, signaling that something fundamental has shifted. This isn't luck or a hot streak. It's a young core learning to control games at the highest level. The Hornets are announcing their arrival, but the question remains, can this momentum hold, or will the league expose the limits of a team still searching for its true identity? The Hornets' hidden edge. Most of the time when young teams go on unexpected runs, the explanation is simple. Shots start falling at crazy rates. Three-pointers that usually misses start splashing through the net. Hot contested jumpers that should clank off the rim start finding nothing but the bottom. Everyone watches, enjoys the ride, and quietly knows it cannot last forever.
He makes one of two. Exhale.
Regression is coming. The hot streak will cool. Reality will reassert itself. But the Hornets streak does not fit that familiar pattern. And understanding why requires looking past the highlight plays and into the numbers that actually determine basketball games. Rebounding. That single statistic might be the most important factor driving everything Charlotte has accomplished over the last 2 weeks. When you consistently grab more rebounds than your opponent, you are essentially deciding how the game will be played. You get more possessions, you get more shots, you get more opportunities to score, while denying those same opportunities to the other team. Why it sounds simple because it is simple, but executing it night after night requires effort, energy, and collective commitment that young teams rarely sustain. Against San Antonio, a team featuring a 7'4" Victor Wembanyama,
The two rookies bringing the energy here to start the fourth quarter. Shot clock going down. Collier on the drive. Blocked by Wembanyama. Not in his house.
the Hornets did not just survive on the glass, they dominated it. Charlotte out-rebounded the Spurs 51-36. Moussa Diabate grabbed 10 rebounds. Brandon Miller pulled down 8. LaMelo Ball collected 8 more. The production came from multiple positions rather than one dominant big man carrying the entire load. That distribution matters because it indicates systemic commitment rather than individual heroics. Everyone is crashing the boards. Everyone is fighting for extra possessions. Everyone understands that rebounding is something you can control through pure effort, regardless of how the shooting is going on any particular night. This is why the streak feels sustainable in ways that typical hot stretches do not. Shooting percentages fluctuate based on countless variables outside a team's control. But rebounding is a choice. It is a decision made on every single possession to pursue the ball with maximum intensity. When a young team begins making that choice consistently, especially to the point where they win 6 straight games for the first time in nearly a decade, something fundamental has shifted in how they approach the game. The scary part for the rest of the league is that all of this is happening while the Hornets core is still figuring itself out. They are far from a finished product. And when a team starts playing this way, individual growth instantly follows. Miller unleashed over the last 10 games. Brandon Miller has been absolutely unconscious.
Law enforcement must have been really convinced of Miller's lack of knowledge or intent to not charge him.
The numbers are staggering. He is averaging 24.7 points per game, along with 5.2 rebounds and 3.3 assists. He is shooting 44% from three-point range, an incredible 98% from the free throw line, and 51% from the floor overall. To put that production into proper context, he is one of only 3 players in the entire league, averaging at least 24 points on 50% shooting, 40% from 3, and 90% from the line over that stretch. The only other 2 guys in that exclusive club are Anthony Edwards and Steph Curry. That comparison alone tells you the level Miller's operating at right now and how rare this stretch actually is. Well, what makes this run even more impressive is how Miller responds when things do not start smoothly. Against San Antonio, he opened the game shooting 1 for 8 from the floor. cold, struggling. The kind of start that typically causes young players to lose focus and fade into the background, deferring to teammates and hoping nobody notices. Instead, Miller stayed aggressive. He stayed patient. He kept hunting his shots and trusting his process. He finished with 26 points, 8 rebounds, and multiple defensive stops on 7 of 21 shooting.
He is just beyond special.
Saves the handle. Wemby does the same thing. Shot clock at 5. Has to throw it up. And he banked it in!
And he delivered some monstrous plays down the stretch, none bigger than his, and 1 3-pointer over the top of Victor Wembanyama. In a game where he began really slowly, Brandon Miller ended up being the difference. That resilience separates potential stars from players who merely have good stretches. The Philadelphia game showcased an even more dominant version of what Miller is becoming. In a massive 130-93 victory over an Eastern Conference competitor, he finished with 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals while shooting 9 of 11 from the floor. That efficiency equated to a 100% true shooting percentage for the game. The performance made him 5th all-time in NBA history for games with at least 30 points on 100% true shooting. He is only 22 years old. He is years away from his peak seasons, and he is already posting historic efficiency numbers against quality opponents. When you watch Miller play right now, the sustainability becomes obvious. His jump shot is silky smooth, but it is the way he shoots on the move that really separates him from other young scorers. Charlotte runs numerous dribble handoffs at the top of the key, and Miller is one of the primary beneficiaries of those actions. The second the ball hits his hands, he is ready to shoot. If defenders are not perfectly positioned to contest, they are getting burned because these looks happen in the blink of an eye. Mix that shooting ability with his size, his frame, and his developing ability to get downhill and finish through contact, and you have a player who is becoming genuinely difficult to defend. This is not just a hot streak anymore. This is the beginning of a real offensive star taking shape.
Following the defensive foul, the play is under review for an altercation that does not dissolve.
Rising against the odds. When a team is actually good, players begin to feel empowered. They rise to big occasions instead of shrinking from them. And the game against the Dallas Mavericks was not just another regular season win. It was the kind of hardwood classic that people will look back on in 10 or 15 years and recognize as the beginning of something special. Those games do not come around often. Charlotte has not had many of them in recent memory, which is why what happened mattered so much. The Mavericks came in with Cooper Flagg playing out of his mind. He finished with 49 points, living in the paint, forcing contact, getting touch after touch no matter what the Hornets tried defensively. When one opposing player is that dominant, young teams typically fold. They lose composure, start forcing bad shots, and watch the game slip away as the opponent's star takes over completely. Charlotte did not fold. They stayed calm. They kept firing back with answers of their own. And the game developed into a genuine duel instead of a blowout. On the other side of that duel stood Con Knuppel. The rookie met the moment with 34 points of his own and then stepped to the line to hit the game-winning free throws, sealing a 123-121 victory. What made the matchup even more compelling was the personal history. Knuppel and Flagg were Duke teammates. They were actually roommates. And even when you are friends, there is always going to be that competitive edge when you meet in an NBA game. Knuppel wanted to guard Flagg. He wanted that responsibility. You could feel the extra intensity every time they matched up. Knuppel actually held Flagg quiet early, limiting him to just 2 points after the first quarter. Then Flagg flipped the switch and had 49 anyway, because he is simply that talented. But Knuppel's night was special in its own right. He hit 8 3-pointers.
Knuppel's already made a pair. He's got 3! Oh my goodness, the con man!
Setting the franchise rookie single-game record and breaking P.J. Washington's old mark. That is one of those moments where you stop and recognize that something unusual is happening. Once Knuppel saw one shot drop, he caught fire. His pull-up 3 off the screen in the third quarter perfectly demonstrated what kind of shooter he actually is. He does not need to set his feet. He does not need extra time or space. The second the ball hits his hands, he is ready to let it fly. That confidence and readiness does not usually show up this early in a career, especially not in massive contests against elite competition. The numbers confirm what the eye test suggests. The only players in the entire NBA this season averaging at least 18 points per game, making 3 threes per game, and doing it on 62% true shooting are Con Newpel, Steph Curry, and Anthony Edwards. A rookie absolutely should not be part of that list, and yet here he is, producing like a star already in year one against real competition. Coming out of college, Newpel was viewed mostly as a really good supporting piece to Cooper Flagg at Duke.
College roommate Cooper Flagg. LaMelo swirls in a three-pointer.
Not someone people were circling as a future focal point for an NBA franchise. Now he is producing like one already. If this is where the baseline starts for this player, there is a very real chance he grows into a legitimate star in this league. The underrated threat with their recent victory over the Spurs, the Hornets moved to 22-28 on the season. Looking at the schedule ahead, honey, it would not surprise anyone if they edge past the Bulls and Hawks to cement themselves firmly in the top 10 of the Eastern Conference. If that happens, Charlotte puts itself in position to play postseason basketball for the first time since 2022. Just reaching that stage would represent significant progress for a group that has wandered through the lottery for too long. But here is what really blows the mind. The Hornets should be even higher than they currently stand. Their point differential on the season sits at -5.6, the worst mark in the NBA for a team with their record. What that number tells us is simple. Charlotte should have won approximately 5.5 more games this season than they actually have. Close losses that could have gone either way. Games that slipped away in the final moments. If you add those expected wins back to their record, you are suddenly looking at a team that is essentially 27-23. That record would have them sitting as the 6th seed in the East right now, above the Philadelphia 76ers, and only 2 games behind the Raptors and Cavaliers. That is not hypothetical optimism. That is how good the Hornets actually are based on how they have played. The standings still show them behind teams like Atlanta and Chicago, but Charlotte is not on the same level as those teams anymore. Their offense has legitimately become difficult to guard. They have too many players who can beat you in too many different ways. You cannot load up on one guy and expect it to work because someone else will make you pay. As a team, they rank 5th in the NBA in three-point shooting percentage at 37.3%. That spacing has completely changed how opponents must defend them. The next area for growth is obvious. Turnovers. They are averaging 14.8 giveaways per game. Cleaning that up even slightly would make the margins even smaller and winning even more accessible. That is the difference between close wins and comfortable wins. It is probably the biggest thing holding them back right now. But this is still a very young team, so expecting massive overnight improvements would be unrealistic. What makes the future so exciting is the balance. Charlotte has 4 players averaging more than 18 points per game this season. Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Con Newpel, Miles Bridges. That is a nightmare to scheme against because a different player can step up and beat you every single night. You cannot just take away one thing and expect it to work. And there is too much variety, too much firepower, too many weapons to account for. The Charlotte Hornets have shown the league a glimpse of something rare. A young team not just winning, but dominating, evolving, and rewriting expectations. But streaks end, players face slumps, and the competition never sleeps. Can this group turn promise into legacy? Or will the weight of expectations expose cracks before their potential is fully realized? The answer will define not just a season, but the future of a franchise on the rise, and the next chapter is about to begin.